Hey guys, what is up and welcome to a new NVIDIA daily update video. So today, as per usual, let's go over NVIDIA. Let's talk about what has happened to this stock, what we can expect moving forward, and all of that good stuff. So ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed, don't forget to hit that like button. This is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. And of course, if you do enjoy my thoughts, technical analysis, etc., again, I do share my thoughts with my members every single day as the market is trading throughout the actual trading day every single day. So if you're interested, for just $3 a month, the link is down below. You can access all my thoughts, post updates, mainly on Tesla stock in the first tier, sometimes other stocks. Or if you're interested, for $5 a month instead, you get access to everything in that first tier I just mentioned, plus NVIDIA daily updates, constantly, giving you updates throughout the day as the market is trading for NVIDIA as well, if you're interested. So that link is below. Would love to have you there. We're over 500 members now, so we're slowly but surely climbing up. But yeah, jumping into it. NVIDIA closing the day with a nice almost 4% on the day, closing at pretty much $125 per share, which is a good sign, right? Good sign for many reasons, and of course, closing near the high. So I mentioned yesterday how NVIDIA, we had that bearish engulfing candle, but I also mentioned how, what I personally expect off of this is because NVIDIA is already pretty, I don't want to use the word oversold. I wouldn't say it was necessarily oversold yesterday, but it was closer than not, especially compared to the last two times NVIDIA did bearish reversal engulfing candles, which was up here, which was pretty much at overbought territory. We weren't at overbought territory, but I did warn caution. And I did mention how we most likely, if you go back to that video yesterday, we'll most likely get a bit of a sell-off, in the morning. And then I think we start reversing back up. And that's exactly what happened, right? I ended up buying that dip in the morning. I ended up actually selling it, waiting to see how the market, gets closer towards the end of the day. And then because I like the way the market was looking, I ended up pretty much rebuying what I sold at pretty much the exact same price actually. So that was pretty good, but I got better confirmation. And now I'm already up. I don't even know how much I'm up. Let me see. I think I bought it back at like 121 and change. Already up 3% on that, right? Which is pretty good. And I also have a cash record put that I ended up reselling a fresh one as well for 2 weeks out, because I do believe NVIDIA is actually ready to reverse, and clearly it's begun that reversal. Now, obviously, there are some, what should I say? Cautionary things to worry, not to worry about, but there is some caution here still, right? So let's talk about it. We have the bearish engulfing candle rather, right? This bearish engulfing candle from yesterday engulfing this smaller one over here. Now that obviously was a sign of concern, but again, with any reversal candle pattern, you need confirmation. Like for instance, back when we got these two bearish candles, you can see the next day, especially the one at DeepSeek, well, they were very well red days, right? They usually the candle by itself is already a bit of a concern, but you especially want confirmation, which is usually in this case a red day the day after. We didn't get that today, right? If today was a red day, this would have been much more concerning, and I think for sure we would have flushed down, most likely down to 107, 105. We didn't get that, right? We did not get a red candle. We instead got a pretty nice looking green candle, which is good, right? So we ended up. So what that means is when you get these kind of reversal candles, you need confirmation. Because we didn't really get true confirmation, which is a red candle in this case, at least in my opinion. This doesn't fully eliminate the worrisome, I guess I should say, of this bearish engulfing candle with how big it is, but it substantially, in my opinion, reduces, which I'm not a financial advisor if I didn't say that already, it does reduce the potential bearishness of that reversal candle structure. You know what I mean? Because we got that green day today. It was a pretty nice green day as well, closing near the highs, which is what I like to see. So this does reduce the bearishness of the bearish engulfing and increase what I believe to be is going to be a rally into next week. Now, because NVIDIA did actually rally pretty nicely today, that does mean that the rally might not be as intense as I thought it would be, but we still could definitely get a nice rally. And this is, we take that Fibonacci, that's not the Fibonacci, take the Fibonacci, from down here to up here, and the first level will be this 127-ish range, right? This will be that first level to watch for, right? You could get a small rejection at like 126, 127, which we're already pretty close to it as well. But the main target I'll be looking for a true reversal, especially with how strong it was clearly towards the end of the day, especially, will be closer to that 618 Fibonacci retracement, which is going to be sitting closer to about the 133-ish range. Best case scenario, if it happens really fast, like by like Wednesday or Thursday, will be closer to 137, 138. That's like best case scenario. While still technically being in this downtrend, right? Obviously, literally best case scenario is we bottom out here and we rally, break out, and we continue up. That's like true best case scenario, which we'll go over. That is a possibility, but I wouldn't count on it just yet until proven otherwise. But as of right now, I do expect NVIDIA to get a continued rally, most likely to 126. That could be all she wrote. That there is a chance that that's all we get. That would be pretty disappointing. I don't think that's all we get. I actually think we will most likely go higher. I actually think we'll come to the 618, closer to 133, 134. That's kind of my main level to watch for, that I'm kind of looking for, right? Which is why I didn't enter very, very aggressively. I bought shares and I sold cash ticket puts, right? But I didn't go like crazy, like all in or anything like that, because, you know, the stock is still technically in a downtrend. And, you know, there is still some concerning signs here. I don't think the stock is fully out of the woods just yet. To me, it needs to break out of this downtrend to be out of the woods. It obviously hasn't. And we're not like Tesla is, for instance, where I went obviously more aggressive. We're not towards the bottom end of the channel on NVIDIA. We're kind of still dead smack in the center. So to me, despite I still think it looks pretty good, and I still think there's a higher chance of a bit of a rally from here than not. The problem is the fact that it's still a little bit in limbo land. You know what I mean? That's why I'm being a little bit more cautious as opposed to just outright buying all the shares. I went a little bit safe, pretty much went half shares, half cash ticket puts, a little bit extra. It's a little bit on the safer end in my opinion. Again, mainly because it's just kind of right in the dead smack middle of this downward channel, despite, you know, I think it's still a rally is coming. I'm not as convinced as I am like with Tesla or something like that. So that's kind of my thought process behind there. But again, watch for that, right? We're still in this downward channel, right? We could still technically get this massive rally back to the, you know, towards closer to that trend line resistance of that downward channel. And there is a chance we reject substantially and still make our way all the way down here. This is like the worst case scenario, right? And this is kind of what the daily potentially suggests. Now, let's not forget that the mean reversion here, you can see we are still at, we haven't actually reverted back to the mean, right? We still have a ways to go before fully reverting back to the mean, which in NVIDIA's case would be essentially moving back to closer to about 130-ish, of course, give or take. So that's why this area to me is pretty important, right? It's kind of like 129 to as high as 133/4. Like that area is where I expect it to go to, but where I, as of right now, at least expect some problems to begin. If it's really ugly and if it's really just not as strong as I expect, 126.7 is where it can begin, but I think we can go higher. Now let's go to the weekly, right? This is where things get a little bit more interesting. Like this is where that contradictory thing comes in that I mentioned before, which makes me not as confident on NVIDIA, at least as it stands right now. And that's because the weekly, well, we are towards the bottom end of the Bollinger Band, which is technically good. The fact that we recovered as much as we did today is a good sign. This could have been really ugly if we closed, you know, lower. That could have been really bad, because then this would have most likely made this very tight Bollinger Band begin expanding to the downside, and that could have been very ugly. So we actually did a nice recovery, which definitely helped quite a bit in my opinion. But the thing that's kind of contradicting to me is the fact that, again, on the daily we have the downward channel, which technically speaking suggests we can see like, you know, 105, right? However, the weekly has this very large bullish, well, within it is bullish, but usually these breaks to the downside, large, very large weekly wedge, rising wedge, right? Which this morning, we pretty much bottom ticked the exact trend line, like almost to perfection. Like you can't even make this up, right? Pretty much to perfection, which is good. And we're holding it, which is good. So the bullish perspective is the fact that maybe we don't actually revisit the bottom end of this downward channel. What if that's not the play? What if the play ends up actually being we're not in an actual downward channel as much as I thought we were, and instead we're in something like this. And instead what we do is we hold this bottom and we ended up, you know, breaking out from here, which would actually then coincide pretty well with the weekly and what the weekly is showing, because then those two wouldn't be contradicting anymore, right? If the daily breaks out of that downward channel, that would line up a lot cleaner with what the weekly is potentially suggesting, which is another move to the upside, closer to up here at around 160s, let's say, something like that. That's what the weekly can potentially suggest, assuming, of course, we continue holding this bottom trend line, of course, which at the moment, you know, will be sitting around 117, give or take. So that's kind of that, right? So again, if the daily can break out like this will line up much cleaner with the weekly, and this to me would be very, very bullish. And I think NVIDIA most likely heads to like 160s, maybe even closer to 170s over the next, you know, few months or so. But let's see, right? Again, we still need to break out. We're not out of the woods yet, you know, from the bullish perspective. So let's not, you know, get too excited just yet. There's still work to be done. Let me think, is there anything else to mention on NVIDIA here? I don't think there's too much more to mention. I think that's the majority of what I wanted to talk about. I mean, I guess, you know, the market bias, you know, another concerning factor is the fact that the market bias is red. So, you know, there is work to be done, right? There is work to be done. But if this is the perspective that you look, NVIDIA technically can be very, very bullish from here as long as it continues holding these lows over here. It could be very, very bullish moving into, I mean, arguably this, you know, the next few months or so, right? But again, better confirmation is essentially breaking pretty much above like this kind of very high 130s to about 140. Would be better confirmation for that. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got for you. In terms of options flow, let's take a look, let's take a peek, see what's happening. A lot of call flow coming in for NVIDIA as per usual. But again, the thing with, yeah, wow, that's a lot of call flow coming in for NVIDIA. NVIDIA is definitely getting a lot of calls coming in, especially towards the end of the day. Very, very bullish look. So I'm definitely happy I entered the position. I'm, you know, very happy with that. But, you know, again, let's not get too excited, right? You have to understand the flow with NVIDIA is always somewhat deceptive. Like there's a lot of bullish flow before earnings. So it's, you know, you have to be careful with NVIDIA flow. It's just, I don't know where these bulls get their money, but somehow NVIDIA bulls just have money coming out of their behind nonstop. It's pretty impressive in a way. But NVIDIA is confirmed bullish flow of about 100 million, which is obviously a nice sight to see if you're a bull. If you're a bear, not so much, but I feel like the bears have been eating pretty well lately. So it's time for the bulls turn, in my opinion. The market itself is not looking too bad as well. And one thing I actually started tracking as well is going to be this XLF index, which is essentially the bank ETF, which kind of almost feels like it sometimes gives you a early look into what the market will potentially do. And yeah, so that's looking pretty good as well here too, which is good to see. Anything else? I think that's about it. The VIX needs to drop below 17.5. It'll be better for the market. That's about it. So yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. See you Monday. Peace.